Hello everyone, and welcome to the IELTS multi-step program. Over the years, one thing that we have noticed about success in the IELTS is the role of practice, which is why we have provided a platform for all our test takers to have a mock feeling of the speaking test. In the videos that you're going to be watching, you're going to have candidates who are preparing to write the IELTS go through the speaking test with a trained IELTS examiner. Please watch these videos and note the mistakes they make, the strategies they've used, and the tips that will be proffered in these videos to help you achieve the maximum success that you desire in the IELTS speaking test. Let's get right into these videos. Hello and welcome to the IELTS multi-step program. Today, we're going to be shooting a reaction video to one of the practice or mock speaking tests that we shot in our studio. As is our usual tradition here, we'll be reviewing this video to check the strategies used, the pitfalls and the mistakes that are made, and to also point out how you can improve on your own performance as a test taker, and also draw from the lessons that will be shared at the end of this video to make yourself be in a better position to succeed in the speaking test of the IELTS. Today we're going to be interviewing Glory or Grace. I'm sorry, I'll try and confirm that. And she had a 7.15 in the mock test. So we're going to be looking at what she did well, what she did right, and what she did wrong to get to that particular score. Come along with us. Good morning and welcome to the IELTS speaking test. My name is Lanre. I'll be your examiner for today. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Glory.
Like your full name, please.
Okay, my name is Glory Hunsa.
Okay, so what should I call you?
You can call me Glory, please.
Glory. Good. Okay. Do you work or study, Glory?
I work.
What do you do?
I work as a telesales representative at Prep Class Tutors.
Okay, good. Do you enjoy your job?
Yes, I do.
And why? Why is that?
Because I get to talk to different people every day.
Okay.
I get to understand their moods, and I'm able to relate with them in the best way I can.
Good. Where are you from?
I'm from Ekiti State.
Okay. Nice. What natural sounds do you like the most?
Oh, I love the A sound. I love the E sound. And I love the A sound. That's a long R.
Oh. So now the first thing that you notice here is that so for that question, for someone who is not used to maybe phonology or phonetics, that question would sound like it wasn't correctly answered. Because when I asked, I said, what natural sounds do you like or do you prefer? And for someone, I think she's probably a language and literacy person. And so what went through her mind are the normal sounds in the English language. That's the orthography of English language, the sounds. And that wasn't what I was actually asking for. I was asking for things like sounds that you can get in nature, the chirping of birds, the whistling of the wind, you know, the swaying of trees, you know, the blaring of a car horn. That could be an artificial sound. So basically that's what I was asking for. So what do you do in a situation where the examiner asks a question and then your own opinion or your own idea or understanding of that question is different from what the examiner wants? And at the beginning of your answer, you're probably not sure. What do you do? The easiest thing to do is to just ask for clarification. So do you mean? And if you don't ask for clarification, you can go ahead and state what exactly you will be answering from. What do I mean by this? So she had said, by natural sounds, I would understand that to mean the sounds of the alphabet in English language. You know, that would have already given me an idea that this is the perspective that she's answering it from. So if at the end of our answer, if I'm comfortable with her answer, I would let it slide. Or if I'm not comfortable with her answer, I would clarify for her that that's not what I meant. So this is a very good strategy to use in case you get a question that raises doubts in your mind. So that tells me that you have a quite good grasp of language, because those sounds are sounds that people that probably have. Okay. What sounds do you dislike? Like sounds that you hear on the street or sounds that you hear in normal society that you dislike? What kind of sounds do you dislike?
I don't like the sound of a hooting car. And I also do not like the sound of blasts.
And why? In the IELTS, the lexical resource criteria is modeled on how well you can use the exact words that say exactly what you mean to say. the most effective words that convey your meaning efficiently and effectively. And I would make an example of the thing she said. So what sounds don't you like? And she said the sound of a hooting car. That word there is probably the best word that encapsulates what she exactly means there. So the hooting the horn, just pressing it repeatedly, poo, 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 and that's exactly what she doesn't like. So she has used the word that actually captures the idea or the message she wants to pass across, and that's how she would get good scores for vocabulary. So the vocabulary aspect of the speaking test, of the IELTS generally, is not you using jaw-breaking words, it's you using the appropriate words at the appropriate times. What would that be?
It scares me, kind of.
Okay, I see. Okay, do you mind noises, or do noises bother you?
Yes, they do, but noises bother me a lot. I like quiet environments so that I can process, think, and study well. Okay. Probably concentrate on what I'm doing.
What kind of noises do you come across in your daily life?
Children noise, making noise, cars. That's the popular one I come across.
Okay, so let's move on and talk about the weather.
Okay.
How do you think the weather can affect people's moods?
Well, like the weather is cold now. I can see people just keeping to themselves. When the sunny weather, you're okay, you're able to relate well, you don't feel cold, you feel free. Except the cold weather is your favorite weather though.
See. Now, do you feel weather patterns are changing nowadays?
Yes, quite often. Yesterday it was quite sunny, and all of a sudden we had the rain, and then I'm sure it's going to be very sunny again today.
Seems to be quite fluctuating.
It's fluctuating.
Good. What do people like to do in your country when it's raining?
Well, my people in my country are very hardworking, if you ask me. Most times I know people still work even while it's raining.
Would you consider yourself to be a workaholic?
No.
So you wouldn't be caught working in the rain?
No.
See. So let's move on to the part 2 of the test now.
Okay.
Here, it's called the long turn. I'll give you a cue card. You'll have 1 minute. So basically, you would see that our part 1 was quite engaging. She tried as much as possible to give robust answers and extend her answers where possible and where necessary. Although she's a first-time test taker and she doesn't really have so much idea about the test, I believe that she handled herself quite well in that first part. And when she made mistakes, she was very quick to correct herself. So, for example, where she said, "I don't like children noises," and then she said, "children making noise." So you would see that she's aware of what constitutes communicative competence in English language, and she's trying, to align with that, and that in itself is commendable. To prepare what you're going to say, and then you'll be expected to talk within a minute to 2 minutes.
Okay.
So your cue card, I'll give you your cue card now. Here's your cue card. Here is a piece of paper to jot down your points, and also a pen to also jot down your answers. So I'll read out the cue card also. For your 1 minute to prepare starts now. The question says, describe a time you looked for information from the internet. Okay? You should say when you did that, what information you searched for, and then why you looked for it on the internet. So please start. So start jotting your points. Okay, so please begin your response now.
Okay. I needed to find out about IVFs, and I did that 2 days ago. I wanted to know the process of carrying out an IVF, and then what prompted me to do that was because of a movie I just watched.
On.
That's all.
You still have close to like 35 to 40 seconds to extend or expand your answer.
Okay, IVF sounded strange to me, kind of. Not that I haven't heard of it before, but I felt I needed more information on why people want it, why people dread it, or why people are going for it. From the knowledge of what I gained from that movie, I felt I should be more educated on it. That's why I went to the internet, and I did that immediately. I finished watching the movie.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So this is what comes from being unaware of the strategies and tips that are needed for success in the IELTS. So like I said earlier, this is a first-time test taker. She hasn't had any previous classes with IELTS at all, and so she's probably not aware of the requirements for the speaking part 2 section, which is a mistake that I would advise that none of you make or fall into. There's no way you are prepared to go and write a test and you do not have enough information about that test. You should, as a matter of importance, know the structure of the test, know the time constraints that are aligned with the test, know everything that you need to do. In fact, I have a saying where I always recommend that you should have a dress rehearsal or you should have a mock test before you do the actual IELTS test, so that everything that you're going to face on that day in the test should have actually be something that you would have experienced before, so you are better prepared for it. The speaking part 2 requires you to have 1 minute to jot down your points, and then you'll be expected to talk between 1 minute to 2 minutes. And what she did was she didn't take advantage of that at all. She wasn't even aware that she was expected to talk for an allotted period of time, and she just went ahead because she didn't read the instruction. The cue card that was given to her had the instruction printed on it, but a lot of us do not do this. We don't read the instructions. We just assume that the IELTS is a test and there are questions there, and we just go straight to the questions, ignoring the instructions that are attached to the questions. If she had looked at the instructions, she would have seen that she had up to a minute or 2 minutes to respond to that question, and she would have tried as much as possible to give a robust or expanded answer from the beginning, and not waiting for me to now prompt her and tell her that she had close like 35 seconds or 40 seconds more that she hadn't used. And you will see that immediately I prompted her, she was able to fill in that gap, but damage has been done already, because at first she didn't use her time judiciously, and she needed to be prompted to take advantage of that, and that doesn't in any way display communicative competence. So after watching the movie, after doing more research on it, is it something that you would consider if you ever had the chance?
Not really.
Okay, which means that your opinions about it now are probably like cast in stone. You made your decisions about them.
I'm not condemning it.
Okay.
But at the same time, I won't do it.
Okay. So let's move on to the part 3 of this test.
Okay.
Do you think online information is reliable enough?
Yes, it's broad enough and explanatory for whoever is going through it, especially for the educated ones.
Okay, I see. Next question. Do you think there's too much information on the internet?
Well, will I say there's too much? I just think the information on the internet is just enough to suffice for whatever you're looking for. So it's not too much, it's just what you want to get that you find there.
That's a very good one. Is the information on TV useful?
Yes, it is, but not everybody has an access to a TV.
Not everybody has an access. That should be what not everybody has access to a TV. So there are some minor grammatical errors that she makes and errors of expression that she makes throughout the whole test, and you can see that these are the reasons why she couldn't get above a band 7.5, even though she sounded very confident and she sounded like she had a full grasp of the test itself. So apart from this grave error that she made in part 2, the minor errors of expression and grammar that peppered through our part 1 and our part 3 are one of the reasons why she didn't get the score that you would have assumed that she would get, judging by the fact that she sounded very confident. She seems to have a wide range of vocabulary, and she seems to know what she's saying. She has good ideas about it also.
Yes, and those that have access to it, not everybody have an access to lights, especially in my country here.
I See. Now, how do you think the internet will change in the next, say, 20 to 30 years?
I think it's growing, and I think it will become will be more dependent on the internet more than anything else. Yes.
Do you think governments should regulate the use of the internet?
Maybe when it comes to exposing it to children, but for adults, I think there should be a free use of the internet.
Now, the internet is a place where information is thrown out. Do you think people should be held responsible for the kind of information that they put out on the internet?
Yes, of course. Some people are not quite generous about the information. Will I say generous? Yes. They just put up information that is not relevant or information that is quite dangerous to another user. So I guess once there is a regulation about what you put on the internet, that would curb that kind of.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much, Madam Glory. That was a very interesting and enlightening chat. I had a lovely time having that chat with you. So let's just run through a quick review of the test itself. Is this your first time taking the speaking test?
This is my first time.
Have you had any interaction with the IELTS before? Lessons,
Not
classes?
at all.
It's obvious, but when I say it's obvious, in the mechanics of the way you answer the question, but overall I think this is a very good performance. If I would rate you, I would put you within a 7.5 and a band 8. That's a range that I would put you, and that's a quite very good range. After a second review of this video, I would be able to pinpoint exactly where you fall into either it's a 7.5 or band 8, and then when I check all the errors. But at first glance, I would look at, so the four criteria that we use in assessing the speaking test: fluency and coherence, pronunciation, grammar, and then lexical resource. Now, for fluency and coherence, you were quite fluent. There were little or no interruptions in what you were saying, so that was quite good. Coherence means how well linked are your ideas. Quite good also too, but I felt you could have done better in the part 2. So your part 2 response is supposed to be within a minute to 2 minutes. So it's supposed to be a long response. So what you did was you just spread out like a list for me, and then you stopped. Like I said, not knowing is responsible for that. And the part 2 is such an important part of the test that is responsible for dropping a large chunk of your score. So which is why you could have probably been knocking on the band 8.5, but definitely we're not going to get that, and that's why we're still struggling with the band 7.5.
Okay.
Because of band 2. For vocabulary, you use the words that actually expressed what you were trying to say, but although I felt you could have attempted to use more ambitious vocabulary, I felt you had it, but I felt you were just playing it safe. Playing it safe is good. It's good so that you don't make mistakes, but for someone who probably has a good grasp of the language, don't. You know, there's a place for you to not say show off, but use the words that say exactly what you're expressing. So when you said hooting, so you could have said shouting or loud cars, but hooting is the word that actually expresses that particular thing that you're trying to say. You talked about suffice. That was a good one. And now, so there was a question about, is the internet, is information on the internet reliable? That question wasn't fully answered. So your response was more about how information on the internet is broad and it's quite accessible. It wasn't about it being reliable.
Okay.
So that was, so always look out for the keywords in the question so that you're responding exactly to what examiner is asking you. And then there was use of the word generous, which I know that even you had like some reservations about it.
Yes.
So it wasn't really exactly what you needed to say, what you wanted to say. So overall, it was a good performance. I see a lot of improvements in your performance, and I hope that by the time you actually do take the test, this will all reflect positively. So at the end of the day, Glory actually did quite well. You know, for the first time, she did quite well. She seems to be quite competent in her language usage. She seems to have the good words. She seems to have the good ideas. She seems to be able to just, you know, dot our I's and cross our T's. But some fundamental errors accounted for her not rising above the band 7 range and not getting into the band 8 or band 9 range. Like I said earlier, the fundamental mistake that she made in the part 2 was very, very grave, and that affected our score significantly. Remember, the part 2 of the speaking test is probably the most important part of the test. This is the part that carries the weight of meaning in the whole speaking test. Here, you are given a free hand to actually prepare what you're going to say. You're given time to think about it, to ruminate on the idea, and then you're given the whole freedom to just talk without any interruption. And after you finish talking, you're even given the opportunity to even round up your answers. So obviously, predictably, this will be a part that they will put a lot of focus and importance on, as here you have all the elements, you have all the ingredients needed to make this a success for you. And also you will discover that in our part 3, even though she was giving answers that were on point, there were a lot of errors that affected meaning once or twice. You know, the fact about the an access, she repeated that like 3 times, and you know, it becomes unforgivable if the error keeps on resurfacing and resurfacing. So would I beat down our score? No, I don't think she deserves a reduction. I think she's quite perfect at a band 7.5, and I think that with a little bit of coaching, with a little bit of application of the right strategies, I think she would confidently be able to land a band 8.5 or even a band 9 if she had time to prepare. So what are you waiting for? The best time to practice, the best time to prepare is now. And remember, like I always say in all these videos, everything that you watch here, or the tips that you watch, or the strategies that you go through here will be of no use to you, or will be of no relevance to you if you do not take time to reflect on them and practice and apply them to actual questions. Practice, like they say, makes you perfect. And for the IELTS, you actually do not need to be perfect. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be good enough to replicate that thing that you did during the practice test that was easy in the exam hall. And I can assure you that all your dreams and all your plans for immigration or for further studies that are based on the IELTS will definitely come true if you subscribe to our channel, follow the tips religiously, and also practice as hard as you can.